in terms of news that dropped from Todd Helbing himself about them finally answering the Supergirl question for that show. Like, yes, we waited 2 seasons.
Yeah, I feel like I was going to say it's time, but let's be honest, the time has come long ago and probably gone at this point. Uh, People have wanted to know when Superman and Lois is going to acknowledge the Arrowverse properly. Now, don't get me wrong, in the last 2 years, it has acknowledged it in a more subtle kind of way. The John Henry Irons arriving from his Earth as the massive red wave wipes out his own Earth. That's clearly a reference to Crisis without actually calling it Crisis. The fact that John Diggle showed up and literally talked about Oliver Queen, that's a pretty obvious reference to the Arrowverse. But off all the issues here, people want a reference to Supergirl. And as a fan of Supergirl, I can 100% understand that, because Superman and Lois would not be on the air without Supergirl. It's the same version of Superman and Lois that we met in Supergirl. Yes, maybe Crisis rewrote their story a little bit, but to take that one step further, it's the same version of Lucy Lane we met in Supergirl. Yes, Crisis rewrote her story a little bit, but these actors would not be in these roles if it weren't for Supergirl. So I do understand that it's long overdue. The time is now to reference Supergirl, and I hope it's not just a reference to the wider Arrowverse, because they're limited in what they can talk about now that Supergirl's over. But literally, it bugs me something serious, like the last episode, for example, when Superman is off world and they're talking about, oh, look at John Henry Irons saving the day, do we have a new Man of Steel? And you're like, there is literally another Kryptonian hero out there who could do his job for him, but nobody can talk about Supergirl. So it's long overdue. Literally, a text saying that Kara and Jean are off world would literally solve the problem. The Flash did the same thing when Alex Danvers popped up. She said Kara and Jean are off world. Why not do that? I just feel like I know going there once will mean they'll have to go there again. But I think it's a great idea that they're finally going to acknowledge why they're not talking about the Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, because those heroes are out there saving the day. And I know that realistic heroes like the Green Arrow and Batwoman cannot do the same kind of jobs that Superman and Supergirl and the Flash can do because they have superpowers. So maybe you don't need to reference those ones. But like, literally, these heroes could solve problems that Superman faces on a daily basis. And the fact that the show isn't addressing that when it's set in the same world, the world that gave it its own life, is a little disrespectful. So I would like to see them reference it. They don't have to go all in. I like the fact that Superman and Lois is a separate Arrowverse show, but it is an Arrowverse show. So an acknowledgement here or there would be nice. So long story short, it's long overdue, and I can't wait to see how they acknowledge it.
I feel the same. Mainly because, like, see, I'm not even, it doesn't matter to me that they haven't mentioned the other Arrowverse shows. It sticks in my craw that they haven't mentioned Kara. And the reason is because in season 1, there was a lot of talk about how isolated Clark has felt as the only Kryptonian. And yes, of course, that plays into his story with his brother Tal. And like, his cousin is literally right there. It's a similar story to how Supergirl felt prior to, Clark arriving and him being older. So why aren't we? I get not mentioning his cousin if he doesn't know her, but can we speed up the train of him getting to know her, even if she never appears, just to know that she exists, and so that one day we might have a storyline where he attempts to go find her. I just really don't see how you can spend so much time talking about Clark in Kara's relationship in Supergirl, and then completely dismiss it in his other show. Like, I get how Crisis could have erased that bond, but it was an important bond in her show. The fact that it's not treated the same way on his show is irksome.
What if he just texts her like, hey, can you help? And she replies, sorry, busy, heart emoji.
I'd be all for that. It would be a nice acknowledgement. And while I do understand, they can hide behind the fact that Crisis changed this, but let's not forget that the very last installment of Crisis on Infinite Earths, after Crisis happened, had Superman team up with Supergirl and all the heroes of the Arrowverse. So post-Crisis, Clark and Kara does exist. So they can't say now Crisis erased all that when they literally fought together after the Crisis happened. And literally in that episode, Lois said, Clark, I need you to come home and look after the boys. And he's all like, the boys, which was a clear reference to the fact that Crisis changed their story, because pre-Crisis, Lois and Clark had a baby child. Whereas now they have two teenage sons. So Crisis changed all that. That's fine. But like, Kara and Clark did exist post-Crisis, so I hope that they don't try to erase it from existence, especially now that they're doing that comic series, which will bring all the heroes together through it. I know Supergirl's not involved in that, but the less said about that, the better. But the fact is, the comic series will acknowledge that Superman and Lois is part of the Arrowverse. The reason that comic series exists is to bring Stargirl into the Arrowverse. But before we jump that horse or jump that shark, can we literally go and bring Superman back into the Arrowverse? Because it's been too long now. And his cousin is literally there. And like you said, Morgan Edge or Tal Rowe, I know we love him, but literally all he said is, my life is so lonely because I grew up on Krypton and now Krypton's gone. And I know Superman didn't understand that story because he was a child when he left Krypton. But Kara understood that story because she was an adult on Krypton when it exploded. So literally Morgan Edge's whole arc could have been negated by the inclusion of Kara. And the fact that they haven't even referenced it yet is very annoying. So I hope they do. And I hope they do it justice, because Superman and Lois does everything justice. It's about time that they deal with the one thing they didn't, and that's Supergirl.
You don't have to say we love Talro, because we all know it's just me.
I like you two do. You two do.
Like
I'm the one over here is like, no.